So in this episode of Building Dreams Together, I sit down with someone whose story is as powerful as it is unforgettable. Elizabeth Forst, EB, she goes by, a woman whose entire life changed in a single moment and who chose to rise anyway. EB was a world-traveling physical therapist, a yoga teacher, a free spirit living her dream until a split-second accident left her paralyzed from the shoulders down. Overnight, everything she knew, everything she did, everything she depended on changed. But EB didn't give up. She refused to. Through unimaginable challenges, she discovered a deeper strength, one she didn't even know she had. And now she uses that strength to help others through the Colorado Paralysis Foundation, training caregivers and advocating for people who cannot advocate for themselves. Our conversation isn't just about tragedy. It's about transformation. It's about surrender, resilience, humility, humor, and the courage to rebuild a life that she never expected to live. And we talk about something even more deeply personal, her lifelong connection to my son, Sean, how he supported her after her accident, how she supported him through his recovery, and how she was the one who intuitively knew something was wrong the day Sean passed. This episode is about love, friendship, purpose, and what it means to keep going even when life hits you with a curveball you never saw coming. If you or someone you love is facing a life-challenging challenge, this conversation will remind you that you are not alone, and that meaning can still be found on the other side of heartbreak. Join us for a story that will stay with you long after the episode ends. Welcome to Building Dreams Together, a podcast about connection, courage, and the daily actions that turn dreams into reality. Whether you're building your dream, rebuilding after a storm, or just looking for inspiration to take the next step, you're in the right place. This is Building Dreams Together. EB, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks,
and
Jack.
What I'd like you to do is to start from the night that changed your world and what happened.
So August 14th of 2017, I was at a friend's house in North Carolina, and I was drinking and was inebriated and took a fateful dive into a swimming pool headfirst, and I hit the slope between the shallow and deep end, and I broke my neck at the C4, C5 level, and basically became an immediate quadriplegic, which means I'm paralyzed from the shoulders down. So I have no mobility or sensation from my shoulders down from that moment on. Prior to that moment, I was a physical therapist. I was a yoga instructor. I was a cranial sacral therapist. I was a wanderluster of life. I was traveling the world. I just returned from a 3-month stint in Southeast Asia where I had been training for yoga. I was in Bali, Thailand, and Cambodia, living the dream, living the world, living everything I had ever wanted to have in front of me. And then I had this accident. And from that moment on, really started a whole new life of challenges and difficulties and learning how to live a new life from the auspices of a wheelchair. So that was 11 years ago. And now I live in Denver, Colorado, and I have a whole new world in front of me, and I live every day with challenges. And there's lots to the story, but that's how the actual moment of change happened in my life, was from that accident in that swimming pool that night.
Where did you immediately go to in your head, in your mind? What was going on at the days and the weeks right afterwards?
I think the moment that it happened, I was very present. I was very aware. Based on my background in physical medicine and rehab, I knew something was wrong right away. When I had the accident, I was face down in the pool and couldn't lift my head out of the water. So I was holding my breath for a solid minute and a half. I was a swimmer, so I think I just had the capacity. I was also a yoga instructor. So I think from that point on, I knew immediately something was wrong. And as soon as the gentleman in the pool pulled me out, I was immediately advocating from the second. From that moment on, I was advocating for myself. I, was telling him how to get me out of the pool and then how to get me, call 911. And I got medevaced off the property. And then I was in the hospital for a couple weeks in North Carolina. And then I was flown to Craig Hospital in Denver. And that's how I found myself here. But I think from that moment on, from the moment of the paralysis, I was very aware that my life had changed in a way that was never going to be the same. And I knew that I was going to be living a life of insurmountable challenges, Mount Everest style days where I have to, go up the hill every day because it was going to be a lot. And it has been a lot.
Yeah. So what do you tell yourself? What's the feedback that you say to yourself that rather than surrendering and going like, so many people, there's a lot of different ways people can handle. Like, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine what that must be like.
Well, to be honest, the first 9 months after the injury were very difficult mentally. Physically, it was very challenging. I had to learn a whole new life of physical or lack thereof. The mentality was probably even more difficult. So living the day of a paralyzed person is challenging. I depend on caregivers every morning and every night. They get me out of bed and put me to bed. I can't feed myself. I can't put water to my mouth. I can't put chapstick on my lips. I can't brush hair away from my face. I can't brush a bug off my shoulder. And I've had bugs on my face. Everything that you can imagine that you do a million times a day, I cannot do. I need help. So there is a very huge amount of surrendering that I have to do on a daily basis. And that never changes, and it will never change. So there's a surrender to being okay for asking for help and being okay with asking for help. And there's a lot of humility in being a quadriplegic. I don't have any shame about being naked in front of a person because everybody's seen my parts now. I have caregivers that have done that, and people help me go to the bathroom. There's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about, in general conversation over a martini, but that's the true face of spinal cord injury and a true face of quadriplegia and paralysis. So there is a huge amount of surrendering that happens on a daily basis. But I think along the way, I've also learned this really important lesson, which my father used to say to me all the time, and it doesn't ring true to me, is really to not sweat the small stuff, because little things that you don't think are a big deal for me. And I have to take them in stride, and I have to laugh, and I have to find the humor, because if not, you go down the hill and you go down that dark channel of depression. And I think if you go there, then what is there? Why? You spend the rest of your life living in a bad place. For me, I decided, I think 9 months in to make the decision to elevate, to make something of what I had left.
Okay. I'm going to come back to this and ask you questions about that in a little bit, but I want to bring in the audience to understand our relationship and how we became friends and what you are in our lives. And I'll let you tell the story of how we met and how you entered. And
I met you, maybe it's actually 30 years ago. I was met Sean Gindy. He's your son, your oldest son. I met him in college. The very first day I was at college, I met Sean. And we met very fortuitously. My mom got really sick and was at the student health center, and I went outside and was sitting on the steps thinking, I have nobody here. I know no one at University of Colorado Boulder, which is where we both went to college. And this girl, Liz Kozub, said hello, and she invited me to her dorm room later that evening. And I knew no one literally on campus. And I went to her room that night. Very scary moment because I didn't know anybody. And I thought, well, I just got to meet some people. And Sean opened the door. And that was the very first time I saw Sean's face and met him. And it was sort of this immediate affinity, I would say. We were immediately, instantaneously best friends. We became very, very close. And within 48 hours, we were inseparable. We spent an entire month just being best friends. He was dating somebody else at the time. And and then we decided to step over the line, and we dated for 4 years through college, nonstop. We were pretty much inseparable the entire time, very much in love with each other. And we traveled all around the world together. We did study abroad together. And so I met you and Meredith and the family because you lived in Boulder at the time.
Yeah.
And I was very fearful of meeting Sean's parents because it was a big deal just to meet, that was my first big boyfriend of my life. So, but you took me in as your family, and I think I was kind of the first girlfriend in the family.
First serious
girlfriend in the family. But, Sean to me was probably the most special person in my life and will always remain the most special person in my life. And I think our relationship has become stronger since he's passed on. We can talk more about that as well, but we've known each other for 30 years. So it's a long history.
Yeah. And so you've remained friends, even though you went your separate ways.
Yeah.
You remained friends, and Sean has been in your life.
Yes.
Up until the time of the accident, was he in your life on a regular basis or not really?
We have always stayed close. Like, it didn't matter whether he was dating somebody or I was dating somebody. We've always been each other's fallback person as far as, I think just we've always been soul partners, like whether, and we got back together and we had a lot of that. We had a lot of like, get back together, break up, get back together, break up kind of over the years, over 30 years. But it didn't matter what state we were in. We always remained in touch. And it didn't matter what was in the way. Just we were always really, really, really close, really close. A lot of my boyfriends had problems with him because they were jealous of our very intense relationship, even on a friendship basis. And a lot of his girlfriends were also likewise very intimidated by our relationship.
They're threatened by this lifelong relationship, this bond that the two of you had.
And we were seamless with the way we were together.
Tell me about now the accident happens. You were engaged at the time. That engagement broke off.
Yeah.
Sean re-entered your life in a different way. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Sean was very much a big part of coming to the hospital when I was at Craig Hospital, which was the rehab hospital in Denver. He would show up for me. He would bring me food. He'd bring the nurses food. He fed me. He would lay in my hospital bed. He would make me feel, he was trying to make me feel as normal as possible, even though I was going through this incredibly tumultuous time in my life. He just brought light to this dark place that I was in. And then at that point on, going forward, he just has been a big part of me returning to Denver and finding a life here again. Because at the time I wasn't living here. Introduced me to some new friends and came and became my personal assistant. He was just there.
He just told me building dreams together, Dad. He just said that. Mm-hmm. Building dreams together, Dad. I'm sharing that with you because I know you'll understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And we were, and I think, Sean and I never had like a physical relationship at that point, but like we went to another place, which was a deeper soul relationship. Like he cared for me. He fed me. He helped me with things that I couldn't get from anybody else. And he just like knew how to be there with me and be there for me and sit with me and just not only just be a friend, but just fulfill a hole that was there that was hard for anyone to fulfill.
When Sean was going through his sobriety, when he first became sober, because you knew his challenges. And
yes.
You were very upset with him over some of the things that he did. And then you hired him, gave him a job actually to be a caregiver for a little while.
When Sean was going through his sobriety, it was important for him to re-engage with in a way that was positive. Like they encouraged him to give back and to help others. And that's part of getting through the difficult. And so we had come up with an idea that I could hire him as a personal assistant.
Right.
So Sean was my Wednesday guy. He'd come over every Wednesday and we would cook together, and we just I tried to help bring in some normalcy for him and create a really normal environment. And we went to some music shows together, and we shared a lot of love of music, and we shared a lot of love of Burning Man and just conversation and shows and traveling and really engaging in positive, affirming conversation, and had to get through the tough time. And I was always like kind of a shoulder for him as much as he had been a shoulder for me. So it just felt like the circle of life was coming back around. He helped me so much when I went through my tough time, and I was there for him when he was going through. And that's what relationships are all about, and partnerships are all about, is you're there for them when they have the darkness.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know he was, well, take us through the day that Sean passed. What happened there?
Yeah, so it's November.
Because you were very instrumental in this whole discovery.
Yeah, so it's November 20th, 2024. And it was a Wednesday. It was one of our Wednesdays. And I had spoken with him the evening before about, coming over. We were going to do our dinner together, and I'd already planned what we were going to do. And I had to go to a doctor's appointment that day. So I was in the car with my early caregiver at around noon, and I had texted him earlier that morning about timing. And it was noon, and I hadn't heard from him. And I remember being in the car, and I remember looking at my personal assistant, and I said, I think Sean's dead. And she looked at me, she thought I was crazy. And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, I think he's actually dead. Like, there's never been a time where he would never have responded to be a text message. And it was noon, and it was so unlike him. And I was immediately on high guard. And I just think I just had this overall feeling that something was very, very wrong. So I got home, texted him again 1 or 2 more times. At that point, nothing had been returned. I knew something was severely wrong. I reached out on Facebook. I found his girlfriend at the time. I didn't even know her. Like, I'd never even met her. I found her on Facebook and messaged her asking her if she'd spoken with him that day. She had not. She was also concerned. And so then that was the hour by hour, play by play, where she raced over to the loft and called 911 and discovered that he was here and he had already passed.
Yeah.
In the midst of that late afternoon and evening, I had reached out to your family, specifically Caitlin and Blake and Joe, and you guys had just gotten to Mexico and were alerting you that he was missing and that something was wrong.
Yeah. I remember the day really well. And that day you talk about, you reached out to him at noon. At noon that day, you knew I was doing these daily posts on this journey that I am about the I Believe in Me program and the foundation that was started even before Sean passed, but now was in honor of him. And I was doing these videos showing the world that the way you get done is by consistently putting out, taking a step forward in the direction that you want to go in life. And we'll get to what you're doing now in a moment. But that day at the beach, that afternoon, I posted a video saying, don't build a home in hardship. Don't make mourning your address. That was a message that came through me, I think, from him. He had already passed. And it was something that I made a video saying those exact words. Don't make mourning your address, Dad.
Yeah.
Because I'm gone and you're going to be sad.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a very emotional, hard day, for sure.
I think the whole experience for me is still surreal. Here we are sitting in his space, and I lived here for a while, and we found this place together, and there's a lot of memories here. And for me, it's still very surreal that he's gone. He speaks to me all the time.
So he's not gone.
He's not gone physically.
It's different.
Yeah.
Together still just a little different is the motto that we've adopted, and it's something that's there, and like you've shared many stories of the signs and the conversations, and I've shared with you the same thing, and Meredith and all the kids have shared the same thing. So here we are in his space. And I want you to share your story about what drives you and what empowers you, because that's what Sean would want. It's about passing on some valuable lessons to young people today, to kids today, to young families, to anyone who really needs to hear it. And you're doing some fantastic, amazing work inside of the field that you were in before, and now being a quadriplegic and helping, teaching people how to actually care for them and spreading this gift around the world of educating caregivers. And so talk to us about that and how that came about.
Yeah, I would say 2 years ago, I went through a stint where I didn't have proper care, and I had stayed overnight. I had to sleep in my chair a couple nights during a summer. It was very difficult to find proper caregiving, and I couldn't find anybody to put me to bed, so I slept in my chair all night long. And I remember actually Sean calling me and being like, "You're never doing that ever again. You're calling me." But I was like embarrassed. I didn't want to. There's a lot of shame in needing to ask for help. And I've kind of gotten over that now. I'm like, screw it, I got to ask for help all the time now, you know? But there was a moment where I decided, looking at the fireplace and 4 o'clock in the morning, thinking, this is crazy. I need to change something here. So I decided to start an organization connected to the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, which is an organization, a non-for-profit organization in New York. And they are really like the overriding non-for-profit in the country to help folks that have had spinal cord injuries, whether it's in Montana or Washington, D.C. or Utah or Colorado. We're all in the same family together. But because they're based in New York, they really don't have an extension here in Colorado. They really don't have an extension west. So that night that I was thinking, oh my gosh, something's got to change, I reached out to them and I said, I'd like to start an organization here in Colorado with your blessing and your affiliation. And they were all for it. And so we had to go through a lot of legalities of creating contracts. But we're basically the very first affiliate outside of their organization since their inception, since Christopher Reeve, since the 90s. And I led the way and led the path and started an organization called the Colorado Paralysis Foundation. So we are an affiliate of them. We're the very first affiliate of them.
Colorado Paralysis.
The Colorado Paralysis Foundation. So I'm the
That's a nonprofit.
It's a non-for-profit. Yep. And I'm the executive director. And I organized a board of trustees. And we've been in working 2 years now. And we've got a few priorities, but our main priority was that one that was really connected to my own care or lack thereof, which was to find a way to educate caregivers on how to take care of folks like myself. So it's creating something from nothing based on a need of helping. And so now my passion is to help others, which is what I was doing before. I was injured, just in a different way. Can't put my hands on somebody like I was as a physical therapist.
Right.
But I'm able to use the education, the knowledge that I have, that I've gained over my entire lifetime, and my own personal experiences in helping educate and train other individuals on how to care for folks like myself so that they can live a better life. And I feel strongly that, I have the voice, I have the advocacy, and I have the ability to advocate for those that cannot advocate for themselves. And that's important to find those voices because, as you know, and as I know, there are a lot of people that don't know how to use their voice and are afraid or might be meek in how they present themselves or what they need, or might feel shame or humility or whatever it may be. And so it's folks like you or myself or others in the community that need to really bring that strength to those people and show them that they can do it.
Yeah. I'm just amazed at how far you've come in really a short period of time when you think about it. I mean, I know it's been many, many years, but you just talked about developing this program. And how many people have you trained so far?
Well, I had to create it from there. There was nothing. There was nothing. There has nothing. And I looked. I did a year of research across the world. Yeah. And there's no spinal cord training program that exists to this day until I created. And so we created it with my board, but I really was the one that created it based on my own care. Right. And so I did this it took me a year to create a whole online portion. I had to create an education portion and then to create a hands-on portion of training. So it took me a year to do that. And so we had our first class this past June and we trained 10 people and had fantastic experience. It was a 2-day process and everyone that graduated with our certificate of completion is now working in the field.
That's awesome.
So, and we had 2 people that were in high school. We had a woman that was in her 50s. I mean, it was across all lines. We accepted anybody that was interested. And the Reeve Foundation has backed it 100%. They gave us a $20,000 grant to fund this program. So, and we'll continue to have them on the quarterly basis.
What do you want to share with people who have experienced well, who just experienced life-changing events. I mean, what's the message that you want them to take with them? Because some people just want to crawl in a hole and not come out.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there are days where I want to crawl into a hole too. Let's be honest. I mean, we had to be honest here, right? But there's so many messages that I've learned, and I continue to learn on a daily basis. The strength that I find within myself comes from a place I didn't know existed, and I think when you get to those places of despair, it's like you have to dig deep, and you really have to rely on your friends and family to dig deep. And find individuals that are going through similar situations, because I think that camaraderie and that team feel, you have to reach out. You can't be in those places alone, because you can't ever get anywhere by yourself. I think it's really important to reach out and have those connections and that strength, the group mentality, and then to also laugh a lot about things and to not take things so seriously. I had a conversation with Sean in my dreams the other day, and the one thing that came across from him was, don't worry about all these little things. They don't matter. Like, just focus on the relationships that you garner and the relationships that you're creating and you continue to create, because that's what's important. And like, I listened to that message and I think really deeply about that.
Yeah.
You know, like our relationship, or like my relationship with my board or my family, like those are the important things that really need to rise above, and to not get stuck and bogged down in the little details of life, because they really don't matter in the end. It's energy expended for no reason at all.
Yeah. How big of a support is, I don't know, family and friends now? I mean, I know that there was a period of time that when the accident first happened, I had a very awkward, uncomfortable, I couldn't reach out to you. I felt it was hard for me. It was hard for me because of the pain and the sadness that I felt, and the empathy or sympathy. And maybe that was bad. It's like people, you didn't want that from me. You would have wanted me to reach out, right? You would have wanted me to embrace you. Tell me what that was like for you, because from my perspective, I felt ashamed of myself. I was ashamed. Until, I don't remember what moment it was. There was a moment that I saw you, and I saw you in a completely different light. And I think it was one day at the club. I just saw you, and I saw you as a human being again, and not, I don't know. It was like I was avoiding something.
I think that's really normal and really natural. And I still go through those moments with people, because there's a difference between me before the injury and me after the injury. And I think that's really hard it's really hard for others. Like, I've gotten over it, but I know there's a lot of hesitation and awkwardness when you become a person of disability and you're in a wheelchair and you look different, and you're people, you know, it's still me, but people looking, they're like, oh my God, you're in a wheelchair. You're not running around at Burning Man or in San Francisco or in Bali doing your thing. Like, there's this transformation that's happened. You know, whether I wanted it or not, there's a transformation that happened.
Right.
And so it's really hard for individuals that don't know me in that new light yet. But then once you go over the line, you're like, okay, it's still EB. It's still her.
Right.
It's still her personality. It's her voice. I mean, nothing has changed cognitively or personality wise,
right,
or ambition wise. It's more just that my physical looks different. You know, like I'm in a chair, you know, I look different. And so I think that's really hard for people to get over. But I think once you get over it, then you don't see the chair anymore, and you don't see the disability. It's still, you remember it's just me. You know, I might need help with things, but you know, you've helped me eat, and you've helped me. Those were scary things, because you're maybe nervous about your,
for me.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's really normal. And I think it's almost a feeling of like, you're going to feel inadequate in how to take care of me, or inadequate in how to help me, and that you're not going to be good enough. But those are things that are within your own ego and your own thing that you just sort of have to get over. And I think everybody goes through that. And then once you get over it, it's more comfortable for me, and it's more comfortable for you. And then it's past. We get past that point.
Yep.
And then you have to just see me as this new person, this new transformed person, this new individual that's just in a chair, but it's still me. And I think that happens with every single person that I was really close with before the injury. And there are a lot of people that never could deal with it. And so I always consider my injury like a death of my old self. So there's a death of my old self and there's this new person that emerged. And there are individuals that I was very close with before my injury that never could get over. And I think they buried me in a way and they let me go and they could not transform with
It's the same what we're experiencing now with Sean's passing and friends who just can't, who just, I don't know, either don't want to deal with it or it's too difficult for them to deal with and they think they have to be a certain way or behave a certain way or don't understand or maybe get freaked out when I say my son talks to me,
Yeah.
and they get freaked out. I don't believe in that, that's fine, it's just fine. But so I was one of them in this situation, I was one of those people who didn't understand and didn't, was afraid of it or afraid to face my own mortality or my, when it first happened to you, like it was something that was very difficult. Yeah.
I think that there's also a lot of sadness for folks that see me and they're very sad for me because they think, and it is a rightful and okay sadness because my life is really hard and I do have a lot of challenges and I am different and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that sadness, I think, is what drives the awkwardness sometimes. And that is what is the challenge to get over. Yeah. But once you get over the hump, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then it's really nice because then you can grow into a new place. And I think that relationship becomes stronger. And Sean was always encouraging me to see you and be with you because he just knew that it was awkward for you and that's just you learning or anybody learning how to be with me in a new way.
Yeah. What would Sean say right now?
He would be very happy. There's no question. I mean, I'm sure he's here. He is here. He would be very happy that you and I are having this conversation, that you're doing this. And I know he was really proud of what you were starting. And I would always ask
Did he talk to you about it?
We talked about it all the time. We've been making dinner. It was a constant conversation on our Wednesday evening dinners. Like, I was like, did you see your dad's video? And we would talk about it because you'd be on your walks in Mexico and we would talk about it. And he was like, yeah, I think it's so cool what he's doing. And I watched today. So we would, on Wednesday nights, we would talk about your videos a lot. Yeah, it was like kind of a constant conversation.
He didn't talk to me.
Surprised me. He was aware. He watched. He watched.
When he said to me that Friday, "Thank you, Dad, for doing this," but it was my idea. He really said that to me that Friday morning, the day of his funeral. He said, "Thank you for the foundation, for fulfilling my dream, for making this a reality." And then that next day, Saturday, when we came here and found the book, and Blake opened it up, and the first page was, I want to transform the lives of kids. I want to give them an experience they never thought possible. When we saw those words, it was the next morning after he told me about, it was his idea. And he just showed it to me blatantly in my face. It was like, yep, I get it. And so here we are. Here we are in the home of the foundation, doing a podcast on building dreams together.
So it seems perfect that we're here doing it in his space, and we're all around all of his things here. I'm looking around his trees and I've been in this room so many times in 20 years, and so it feels like we're coming full circle for what you are doing and the work you're doing, because I think Sean would be and is really proud of you and happy that you're doing this, because I think you're going to make waves and change people's lives. And I think that's what he wanted to do. And so if he can't do it here physically in this world, then you're working in his honor and through his grace.
I feel like I am. I feel like he's channeling it through me, and he's giving me the strength to sit here and have a conversation. I never thought I'd be able to sit and do a podcast, sit in front of a camera and talk. Not me. I was so stage fright.
Really?
You have no idea. Never in a million years.
I never knew that.
And all of that little preparation work I was doing by doing those daily videos, those 1 to 2 minute videos that I was doing for the 240 days in a row prior to his passing, I guess helped me.
It prepped me. It got me ready to be able to sit down here and have a conversation on camera or be interviewed. But I still get nervous.
It's funny because Sean did too. Sean had horrible stage fright, and he hated public speaking. But every time he did it, I was like, "You're so good at this. Like you're so authentic. It sounds you can't tell."
Yeah.
But I've known him forever, and he I remember in college he was terrified. We took a class together, and he was absolutely terrified to speak in public. But then when he got up and did it, I was like, I can't tell you're afraid at all. So maybe that's something that you guys share together, but you don't also you equally share not showing that nervousness.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when I get up on a stage and speak. I haven't done that yet, and it's something that I want to do, talk about the program, get up on a stage, have an audience of a few hundred, a few thousand people, and talk about what we're doing. I've now become very comfortable behind the camera talking about it, and so that's a step in the right direction, right?
If today's conversation inspires you, please like it, subscribe, and share it with someone you love now.
So if somebody was interested in wanting to become a caregiver, how do they do that?
Yeah, I mean, if they're interested in being caregivers, to reach out to the Colorado Paralysis Foundation info. We have a website. It's coloradoparalysis.com or .org, and they can reach out to me, and I can put them in touch with our training director, which we've got. So it's such a needed population. And
well, when we put this out, when we put this podcast out, we'll put a link inside of so people can reach out to you. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say or anything you want to ask me while we're here before we terminate this podcast?
I guess, well, based on what you just said about like, how do you feel about our going over the line and getting over the hump? Do you feel like things have changed for you? Like, have you learned anything from me and Sean and our experience?
We're all human.
Yeah.
Meredith and I say we're all souls having a human experience.
Yeah.
I get in touch. I see you so differently. Mm-hmm. I see you as a soul. I see people as a soul. Mm-hmm. The physical body, that physical body is not working the way it used to, but your soul is the same. The spirit is the same. That connection, that love, that feeling is there. And I look at people differently because of what's happened to Sean, what's happened with you, what's happened with me, what I deal with. I look at people differently today. I hold zero anger and madness or at anyone who's ever hurt me. I forgave in my life. There's no one right now, today, that I have to forgive for anything. I already forgave them.
There's an expression that Sean and I used to share over the many years we knew each other, and he would always say, they got the curveball of life. He said, they got the curveball. He said they got the curveball, and that basically was our way of explaining with each other, like they got the challenge of their life. And potentially the curveball was like death or drugs or overdose, or they lost their job or they got divorced or whatever it was. So my curveball was my spinal cord accident, and his was ultimately his passing.
Yeah.
And so we would say this, like, I would say, oh, they got the curveball. And he's like, yeah, they got the curveball. And it was just something we shared together.
Yeah.
But it was really, truly what you do after you get the curveball is really what you go forward. You have to just go forward after you get the curveball. So.
Yeah, he was, Sean was a compassionate person who would give the shirt off his back to most people.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
All the time. Always. That was another thing he taught and he shared. And I learned so much about him after his passing from friends and conversations that I've had with people like yourself and others that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I know now. Well, Evie, thank you. Thank you for joining me here.
Yeah.
Building dreams together. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
It takes all of us. And so I thank you for being a guest on this show and for being part of my life. And I look forward to maybe one day in the future where we talk about how many more people you've trained, the transitions you've made in the world of people that maybe this podcast brought your way and helped others. That's the gift that I would love to see come from this.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me today on Building Dreams Together. If today's conversation inspired you, like it, subscribe, and share it with someone you love. Let's keep building connection and possibility, one dream at a time. To learn more about our work and our programs, visit BelieveBecomeBU.com. Until the next time, keep believing, keep becoming, and let's keep building our dreams together.